Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Noemi from Pigeon Art, and today we're going to be testing out some new paints that I bought. I have been wanting to buy new paints for a very long time because all I've been using up until now are the paints you get from, the reject shop and things like that, which have been fine. I feel like my abilities are beyond the paints abilities, if that makes sense. So I've been wanting to buy some. I've done a fair bit of research. I wasn't sure if I should go for a professional grade or just a student grade. I didn't know how quickly I would, surpass the student grade, or whether I'd be wasting a lot of professional grade paint trying to, learn to use them. So what I ended up going with is this Abstract Sennelier brand. So it's a French brand. I didn't realize I actually even bought it from the UK because that was cheaper than buying it in Australia. A rant for another day, but I wish I hadn't done that because it's not exactly the most eco-friendly way to shop. From what my research told me, they're the price of a student grade paint, but they're in between sort of student and professional grade, which is why I got those. And I quite like the packaging. There's a lot in here. Let's give it a go. I only have 5 colors, so the 3 primary colors: primary red, primary blue, primary yellow, black and white. It's going to be a little bit limiting as to how many colors I can get out of that. I know we've taught in high school art that there are 3 primary colors and you can get every color out of it. The truth is not quite that simple. There are 2 color wheels that you can create different colors with, and I'm not going to go too deep into it. But this color wheel that we're taught is only one of them, and then there's cyan, magenta and yellow, which is what our printers use. So probably in the future I'll look into buying a magenta and a cyan so that I can get a much wider amount of color. Because of the colors I had, I decided to go for a parrot with less green. So yellow and blue do make green, but not as nice of a green as I would want for some of these parrots. So I picked this red. I don't know what he is. I should really know parrots better because I love birds. I had to rub him out here and start again because I realized it wouldn't fit on the page properly. He still is a little bit cut off, but in the same place as in the photo rather than the whole amount of him. So I will have a dabble with the paint. I decided to graphite him in first because I don't want my paints to dry. They're much more expensive than the ones I use normally, and I do not want to waste any of them. So I didn't want the paint to dry while I was drawing him. I've read from my research that getting the paint out of these does take some getting used to, so I decided to just do it carefully. I didn't have too many issues, so I think I did it right. So here I'm just going to be swatching the paints and doing a gradient just to get an idea of how they sort of blend together, how they mix together. And then later you'll see me seeing how opaque they are. Well, I'm also seeing that in my gradient, but also how they go on top of each other. They're not as opaque as I would like them to be, especially the blue and the yellow. I mean, the yellow and blue are generally less opaque colors. Anyway, what I did discover from these little dabble swatch page was that the white, if you add white to any of the colors, it will make it extra opaque. You can see it here with the blue. I also discovered that when I started layering the colours on top. So I tried with a few different colours to get an idea of how opaque they all are. As you can see, the blue with the white is much more opaque than the blue without the white. Hopefully you can see that. So having done that, I felt like I was a little bit more knowledgeable in these paints, and I started painting my lovely, I want to call him a macaw. If you're knowledgeable about birds, parrots in particular, please tell me what this one is in the comments. And I started with the red because I felt a little bit more confident with the red being more opaque. I started like I always do, blocking in colours. Having done this painting now, I can tell you that these paints are definitely a huge step up from my old ones, and I'm looking forward to doing more paintings with them. Once I've got a few more paints, like I mentioned earlier, the magenta and the cyan, I'll be able to do a much wider range of painting, especially with greens. I believe that cyan and yellow will get you much nicer greens, so that is something I will look forward to doing once I get more paints. I did a little bit of reading on the back just to make sure there's nothing I really need to know. They call themselves heavy body acrylic, highly pigmented. I don't really know what heavy body acrylic means and if I should be using them differently. That is something I will be doing more research in. Just watch some people use them and see if they use them differently than I am right now. Having used these now, I can tell you that if I ever want to add a different color on top of, let's say I've got some red and I want to add blue or yellow on top, and I don't want it to be 15 layers, 15 coats. I want to add a little bit of white to the yellow, for example, and do one layer. And then if I need that yellow to be darker, I can always go over it again with the darker yellow. I was not happy with the color of that stick, and I changed it about 5 times, but this is where I was at first. Eventually I started adding some details in with a tiny brush. I wasn't probably ready for it yet. I hadn't even blocked in that bottom underneath him yet with the color, and I was still already adding some details, but you know, who cares? I got it all blocked in eventually. If you're thinking of buying them, I don't know. I would recommend doing your own research. I don't want to recommend you buying them, and they might not be right for you. If you're in America, you would find an American brand would be cheaper. If you're in Europe, a European brand would be cheaper. I have looked. I wanted to buy a local paint, and I can't find anywhere that sells an Australian brand, potentially made in Australia. So if anyone is Australian and have some recommendations for me, I would be very interested. Please leave them in the comments. This was the best I could find, and I'm looking forward to more painting. I will probably continue to use my old paints in my sketchbook, you know, having a little play around, because I don't want to waste the good ones. Try and stick to canvases and gifts and stuff like that with the good ones until I have either finished my old paints or they have dried out, which a lot of them, every time I go to use them, I chuck out a couple of tubes because they've dried out. Some of them I've had for years and years and years and years. All in all, I was happy with my parrot and how he turned out. Probably could have spent another few hours on him, but you know, nothing's perfect. I was happy with how he was at that time, and that's where I decided to stop. I somehow managed to stuff up my signature, my maker's mark. He doesn't normally have a background color. It's usually just on whatever background it's on, but I had to improvise. But I think it looks okay now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to give it a like. It really helps me out. I upload some Sundays with art, DIY and sewing videos, and I hope to see you then. Bye!